Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Overlooked to Overbooked webinar today with my dear pal, who I'll tell you more about in a moment. But I just got to say, if you ever are concerned that I've always put it this way in my coaching, it's like, how do you go from the unknown to a go-to expert? How do you go from that person who you've got great skills and talents, but nobody knows about it? And we want to help you transition that. And so it's for that reason that I've decided to bring in my dear friend, Carson Cooper. Now, Carson is the founder of Elevated Academy. He's a transformational coaching visionary with over 3,500 hours of global client impact. With a master's in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building, that's a really awesome thing to have a master's in. He's worked with leaders at Kaiser, San Diego County, UCSD, SDSU, and even contributed curriculum for the Pentagon. He's a recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award and holding over 16 coaching certifications. Carson blends conscious, unconscious, and spiritual practices to create what really is a lasting, profound change for those who are seeking a deeper transformation. And let's be real about this. When you want to make a transformation, I mean, you've heard the term shelf help books. We all want to make a change and we buy this book or we do this training and it just kind of sits there, goes to the sidelines. That's because you haven't done it in a deep enough level. And Carson's here to help you change all of that. So welcome, Carson Cooper. Thank you for joining us today. I so appreciate you, brother, and glad to have you here.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. And this is a really pivotal time in marketing and for entrepreneurs and the personal development world. And so many people ask me like, why do businesses fail? And so we are putting on this Overlooked to Overbooked to really look at the art and science behind who are the people that actually get through the noise of marketing, are able to scale their business, and who stays stuck in that like five figure where it's like you have a passion, you're excited, but you're not scaling. And one, being a leader that you deserve to be, you want to make an impact and connect with people. And then two, being able to scale and actually create a difference in the world, because we know if you've come here, if Michael and I have attracted you, then it's because you want to have a bigger impact. So thank you, Michael. I'm so excited to really create leaders that can scale their business and have this subconscious messaging that is really the new way of marketing. So
So with
beautiful.
that, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to go off camera myself here so that you have the spotlight and take it away.
Okay, awesome. Beautiful. Well, welcome everybody. This is really exciting. If you are here, you are tired of being overlooked, you have a gift, you have a message, and you want the world to see it, you want the world to hear it, and you want to make a bigger impact. And like I said, so many people are like, why is my business failing? It's like, maybe I've made that first 5 or 6 figures, but how do I scale to that multiple 6 and 7 figures? And throughout my last 15 years of coaching and scaling my own business, it comes down to your it factor. That unique, charismatic, confident part of you where people trust that you're the leader across their void. Is it your service? Is it your product? Is it your coaching that is going to not only transform them, but it's going to solve a deep problem where you get a lifelong client that is your best affiliate, that it shares you the best. So now, I'd love for everybody to type in, are you a coaching business? Are you a service provider of some kind? Or do you sell a product? So go ahead and type in coaching, service provider, or product. And really think about, because how is one understanding subconscious messaging? So how can we turn on our clients' subconscious and conscious minds, what their conscious their problem is, and then what's that unconscious problem that is actually going to get them to decide to buy with you? And then we want to transform, not only just have a client for one time, but how do you actually create your ideal client in being somebody that wants to solve their problem, that wants to buy, that wants to continue with you. Okay. So now I'd like you to type in, how long in business have you been in? Have you been in like less than 1 year? Have you been in 5 years, or have you been in 10 plus years? Because this is the it factor method that we're going to talk about today is exciting, because if you're just starting in 1 year, you have this foundation of the subconscious messaging that is going to be able to scale your business from the very beginning. If you're in the 5 year, you probably understand what's working, but you also understand what's not working. And it's like, okay, I'm 5 years in. Usually 5 to 7 years is when businesses fail and stop. And so if you can make it over that hump, you're good to go. And then 10 plus years, you've seen the market transition. In about 1990, 2010, the market was information driven. People wanted to know things. So if you had information to sell, people bought it. And now we're actually going away from just information and our head marketing. And we're going into transformational marketing that you have to sell based on connection, emotion, trust, and are they going to get the transformation with your service product and all of that. So I'd love everybody to type in, what is your big problem that you solve? What is your big problem that you solve? So I want you to think about what is in your business, what is your big problem that you solve? That if they buy your product or service, what is that big problem? Beautiful. So we have lead generation, we have coaching services. A lot of people have their health coaches, their real estate coaches, their life coaches, their business coaches. Then we have podcasting. We have people that have technology that they've integrated as products. Okay. So as we go into like the old way of marketing is you self-diagnosing a problem for your clients. Okay. And then we create a solution to their problem, and your vehicle is the product or the service. Your vehicle is the solution. Well, what I'm going to talk about today with subconscious messaging is how do you connect to your client's emotional big problem, and how do you connect to a solution that they want, they have, and then your product is the vehicle from the big problem to the big solution. Okay. So again, thank you, Michael. It's been amazing getting to know you over the last 3 years and seeing your own leadership and how many talks you've done, how many people that you've had on your own podcast. And I've seen you crush so many stages. And I remember like 3 years ago, I'm like, that is a talk that drives people to want to buy. That is a talk that is like, I want to be the person that is Michael's ideal client because he's calling me to be bigger, better. And that is what this is all about, is whether you are on stages, whether you are doing this for social media, whether you're doing it for a messaging for funnels or your emails, Michael has been able to create sales funnels that have the subconscious messaging. And when I connected with him, I was like, I'd love to teach this because you do it so naturally. Let's get people, let's get people to be able to love what they do, not say what they think they need to say, but heartfelt, soul-felt, authentic messaging that is truly going to attract their ideal clients. Okay. So thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for the acknowledgement.
So I had a vision to have $1 million by the time I was 30. And that was in my very first year of business. I only made $2,000, which was a far cry from the $1 million that I wanted to make. And it wasn't until I started realizing that I was the own bottleneck in my business. Okay. So we have to first recognize our own subconscious blocks where we are our own bottleneck in our business in order to scale to the next level. And like I said, we made our first $100,000, but then after that, you have to step into different leadership. You have to bring different energy to your sales, to your funnels in order to make that conversion. Okay. And I started thinking about, why am I not the leader that I want to be? In my first couple years of college, my mom had cancer, my dad had open heart surgery, and I was outed as gay. And I came home with chalk, dicks, and fag written all over my driveway. And it was in this moment where I remember feeling like I don't have a voice. Nobody's going to listen to me. I felt betrayed by people that I loved. And with my mom having cancer, she was my safety. And I remember thinking, like, I don't trust, if God is going to take my mom away, I don't trust in God and the universe anymore. And I remember looking at my dad, and he was my rock. He was the strongest person I've ever seen. And to see him for 3 months having the heart surgery, and it represented weakness inside of me. So here I was, not feeling safe, not belonging, not thinking I could be the leader. And that is also when I was launching my first business. And I started realizing that these things were happening to actually show me what type of leader I wanted to be. And that is probably why you are in the business you're in, is to be able to make a difference. And so when I started looking at this it factor process, I went from only making $2,000 in a year, and we launched our first funnel with the subconscious messaging, with the energetic leadership, and with the marketing tools that actually allowed me to hit $100,000 in my first year of the next business. And then by month 8, we had a $155,000 month. And then by the time I was 30, just 2 years later after launching, I hit $1 million. And that is the process that I want to take you through today, is really looking at what drives people to buy, but what is your energy that is going to connect to your ideal audience to call your ideal audience in, okay? So I wanna go over a funnel that worked for us, for me, to have my first $155,000 month. Does that sound good? Okay, and then we're gonna deconstruct the subconscious messaging in the funnel that really worked, okay? So when I launched my business, I dialed for dollars. I dialed for dollars with 100 people. Okay. So one-on-one sales is super important. And it's not about sales. I love understanding, how do you coach to the sale? Because when you're doing these sales calls, you're actually can coach and receive the unconscious messages, the unconscious blocks in people's minds. And then you can actually understand how to overcome objections. So there's so many options to buying right now. How do we overcome the objections to buying in an authentic, unique way where they feel held, supported, and connected to? And so that is the subconscious messaging piece. So we called 100 people. And so then we did a talk. Okay, so I did a talk, and out of those 100 people, 12 people came to the talk. Okay, and there was already 56 people there. So 12 of my people and 56 other people from different people. So then at this talk, okay, I sold 10 people at $500. Okay. And this was before COVID. And so what I've started realizing is that the connection that we have in person can actually be transferred to online with our webinars, with our funnels, with our messaging. And so what we did was I had sold 10 people at $500. Okay. So then we actually had a 3-day event for $500. And at the 3-day event, we sold a $5,000 product. Okay. And so what we did is we got the 10 people from this talk, and then I actually got 10 more people. I called those people back, and now we had 20 people at the $500 event. So 20 people at the $500 event. Okay. At the $500 event, we sold 12. So at the $500 event, we sold 12 people into the 5,000. Okay, we sold 12 people into 5,000. Then at our $5,000 event, okay, we actually had a $10,000 product. Okay, we had a $10,000 product, and what happened was, it was 3 a.m. the night before the offer, and I went down and I connected to, what do I really want to do? What's the change and the transformation that I really want? And I knew I wanted to have a $25,000 program. I wanted to help people be able to connect to their purpose, their leadership, and make a big impact. And I said, I'm always wanted to have the 25. So I put the $25,000 on the wall. It was what I've wanted to do. It was that energetic leadership, and it was that subconscious messaging that I understood that I wanted to put out there. And guess what? 6 people bought my 25,000. 6 people bought my 25,000, and I actually called some more people back, and one person bought out of the 100. So I had 7 people buy my 25,000, and I had my first $155,000 month. So why did I go through this funnel with you? There is so much that happens in this funnel. And as leaders, as entrepreneurs, we get bogged down in the how-to. One of my clients says the how hole. It's the how hole. It's like, how do we do one-on-one sales? How do we do a stage talk or a webinar that's going to sell? How do we do a 3-day event? And then what are all the landing pages and the emails that have to happen in all of this? Now, we can spend all the time learning the exact hows. If we don't have the messaging that is going to connect with your ideal audience, call them out, and get them to make a decision not to buy your product, but actually make a decision that they want to change their life, that they want to become the person that actually doesn't have their problem anymore. That is the messaging that I learned to integrate into all of this in order to get these numbers. Okay. So you can do this messaging today on the one-on-one sales calls, okay, that I talked about. You can do the messaging on 3-day events. You can do the messaging on webinars. And this is how to get there. So I'd love everybody to type in, if you stopped with the how hole, okay, you stopped with all the hows, and you actually connected to released your own subconscious blocks, your bottlenecks, and you had messaging that could scale your business to multiple 6 and 7 figures, what's your next goal in your business? So is it a number of clients? Is it amount of money? What is your next big goal in your business that if you hit it, it would transform your life? So go ahead and type that in the chat or write it down for yourself. So if we step into our messaging that actually connects, not with just 3 people or 30 people, but what if your messaging could connect to 300 people, 3,000 people, 30,000 people? What would be different in your life? Okay. So as you're going through this, what is a goal in your business that when you hit it, it would transform your life? $1 million in reoccurring annual revenue. Beautiful. That's such an incredible shift, because all of this stuff works to make your first million. Okay. I remember when I made my first million and I was so excited, but it was actually a lot of work. I was like, can I do this again? And it took me going inside, releasing more subconscious blocks, and then creating automation that where I got to do what I love in less time and be able to have that time freedom plus the money. So I love that you put reoccurring revenue, because that means that the money is coming in while you sleep versus you having to constantly do events, do talks, do things like that. So beautiful. And that's exactly what the subconscious message is. So I had a client that he had done all the right things. Okay, so who here has, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on personal development. I've spent $10,000 on sales trainings. I've spent $25,000 on speaking trainings. I spent $15,000 on coaching training. All of this adds up, right? And I had a client that it was kind of like the same thing. Who here is like they're doing the right thing. Okay, he was in his master's degree. He worked for the city. He had taken sales trainings. He had taken coaching training. He had taken messaging training, done a TEDx training. He'd done an energy work training. And he wanted to help people scale. He wanted people to help people be authentic. He wanted to help them build businesses with their authentic self. And we started building out his business. We did the sales funnels, we did the messaging, and we did all of that. But the key didn't turn, let's say, and the faucet didn't turn on. And he's like, what is really stopping me? And I'd asked him, I said, well, what's going on in your life? Do I have permission to coach you? And so I asked him questions about his own authenticity, about his own struggles in his business. And he had spent over $50,000 trying to make his business work. And he had said, like, oh, I'm not sleeping. I'm waking up at 3 a.m. and I'm not sleeping. And so I coached him around it. And so he had insomnia, and we connected that to actually religious trauma. And he had felt like he was kicked out of the church. And he had felt like, if I am coaching people, I'm actually coaching them to go to hell because I'm taking them away from religion and things like that. And he started realizing, even though he had his passion and he had his big problem, he had his messaging, he didn't believe that he had it out of alignment with himself. And so once we released that religious trauma and we released the insomnia that was hiding behind, he actually, in that year, he implemented his first webinar and made $35,000 from the webinar. In his second webinar, he made $60,000. And then his third webinar, he did a 5-day masterclass. He had a $100,000 month. What shifted? It was his unconscious, where he was the bottleneck in his own business. He understood his subconscious messaging, what was stopping him from moving forward. Why wasn't he motivated to be in full alignment and have all these systems and how-tos work? And when he took his own subconscious messaging, he then implemented that into his marketing. And that was when he started calling out his ideal clients. People saw his it factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, what does it look like, one, to understand your own subconscious messaging, and then two, how do you understand your ideal client subconscious messaging so that we can merge them together? Okay, so you can probably tell I'm obsessed with this stuff. I love that there is a science behind how our brain works. Okay, what gets us to want to move forward? What motivates us to buy? We all have unconscious strategies, subconscious strategies to buying. But then there's an art to this, and the art piece is you. Where is your uniqueness, charisma, confidence that is going to make the difference that makes a difference? So let's look at subconscious messaging. Okay. So we have a box here. This is the box that we're stuck in order to scale our business. Okay, so this box is our neurology. It is our subconscious mind. That is why we do what we do, why we make decisions in our business. Okay, and this has come from 4 different things. Okay, and once we understand this, we can understand ourselves and scale to that multiple 6 and 7 figures. Okay, and then once we understand this for our clients, we deconstruct this box, we blow out the box, and it's actually what I call an identity shift. I want people to stop selling their product, and I want them to start selling transformation. That when people know that they are coming into your product and service, they know that they are transforming. Okay, so we have stories. The stories that we make up in our mind, how do we deconstruct the stories in our life? How do we deconstruct the stories that the clients are saying so that it motivates them, it overcomes their objections? Then we have beliefs. What's the beliefs that are holding people back? What are the negative thoughts and emotions because of that story? Then we have the rules. You're telling yourself a story about sales, about business. Okay, then you have negative thoughts and emotions because of that story. And then you create rules in your life. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. This is what I'm going to accept. These are expectations. Okay, so I like to say that all expectations are the thief of joy. Because if you have a rule or expectation about something, a way something should go, it has to go this way, then you're shutting down your authentic creativity, you're shutting down your it factor. And then the last thing is the rules. You have stories about business, you have negative thoughts and emotions, you have rules in your life, and then that becomes roles, that becomes identities. You become a person from outside of yourself, okay? And you aren't that leader that you want to be. So let's deconstruct, how do we go about this? So story is complaints and excuses. Okay, so what are our presenting problem? What are our clients' complaints and excuses that they're coming after? Okay, so we want to deconstruct what are their complaints and excuses. They're kind of their surface level stuff. Then we want to look at the beliefs, the negative thoughts and emotions. Now, because of these thoughts and emotions, we've created rules. Okay, so it's expectations and definitions. What expectations has our client saying that this has to happen in my life or this can't happen in my life? And this is where they are making a decision to buy or not buy. They're making a decision to jump into a program or service that is going to disrupt. It's going to cost them time, energy, money. It's going to have them have to shift their mindset. What is the expectations that we need to break in order for them to want to move forward? But then they also have definitions, definitions of success, definitions of love, belonging, definitions of sales. They have definitions of what they can and can't do in their life. So we want to actually get them down to the definitions. And then the last piece is the rules and roles. I am not. Okay. So I am a coach. I am an entrepreneur. I am not a bad person. I am not a sleazy salesperson. When we have strong I ams, I am this, we're putting a stake in the ground. We've defined who we are, and it's I am not. That actually, that stake in that ground, either for the I am or the I am not, actually creates resistance. And that resistance actually creates suffering in our lives, and it affects our choices. So, who here wants more freedom in their life? Who here wants more flow? Who here wants more things to be easy? Okay. I hate that word like easy and effortless. Okay. And why I hate it is like, oh, take my program and it'll be easy and effortless to make money and do this or that. So, what I like to make a key distinction is that one, when you get down to your own, these are all subconscious blocks that are keeping you from scaling your business. But when you get down to all of this for yourself, yes, the emotional piece can be hard to overcome. How do I actually release the block? Or I've been coached around the same block a million times. Why is it not going away? Okay. Once we release that block, then we can start to understand how has our past affected our life. So in the I am not, what makes this different with our own subconscious messaging is we want this to be identity shift. How can you shift your identity and therefore shift your client's identity? Okay. So I love this stuff. And I worked with a client that wanted to scale her business. And she had complaints and excuses of, I'm just a photographer. Nobody will listen to me in coaching. I couldn't actually have a women's movement. I'm just a photographer and I like to stay behind the lens. Okay, that was a story that she's telling. So she had negative thoughts and emotions of people won't listen to her. That she felt like she wasn't good enough. She wasn't smart enough. Okay. She had expectations of, oh, I need to make this sort of money. I need to be safe. Safety to her was having reoccurring revenue. And it was being able to work 9 to 5. It was, I need to put this much into my pension, or I need to put this much into my 401k. And this stopped her actually from the safety that she had defined and expectations around what her business had to be was actually stopping her. It was reinforcing that she couldn't lead. Because if she wasn't willing to break out of this own boundary, how could she actually lead and coach her clients and do the same? And she started saying, I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. Okay. Now, what was the identity shift that had to happen in order for her to transform and then to transform her business? I started talking to her about her past, and she started saying, I was addicted to drugs. Um, I had a daughter super young, and I remember I used to be really spiritual, and I had these dreams, and I would tell my parents about these dreams, and they would say, stop talking about that. That's not true. And I shut down my connection with source, but I also shut down my trust and belief in myself. And I started thinking I was crazy. And so when we went in and released the stories, the beliefs, we shifted her rules and we transformed her roles in life. She started recognizing, wow, my shame, my anger, my resentment actually got me to want to do the photography where I was hiding behind the camera. So we shifted her leadership, released all of the subconscious blocks from these things, and she launched her first coaching business. And with 5 clients a month at $4,000 to $5,000, she was making $20,000 to $25,000 within 6 months of launching her business. She used a lot of the photography principles in her life of like, why do you love photography? She's like, I love capturing people's energy, their love, their connection. And I said, what if you could do that through coaching? And she was like, that would be amazing. And she was able to make $20,000. Then she's like, I can't scale past $20,000. And we started realizing that she's like, I only ever saw my leadership up to this point. Okay. And we had to redefine leaders. We had to redefine a leader. And she started recognizing if I can't be a leader for my daughter, how can I be a leader for other people? So again, we did the subconscious releasing, and I asked her, I was like, why stay one-on-one? Why not do group coaching? Why not do retreats? Why not go speak? And she was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that, but I didn't think I could. And so after we released the stuff around her daughter, she then created a women's group. She did her first retreat. She launched her first group coaching, and she started doing speaking and podcasting. Talk about a transformation. And now she's been able to scale way past $20,000 a month because of her leadership shift. Now, what if I told you that your ideal client might not have gone through the same like external situations in your life? Okay. They might, like, a lot of my ideal clients aren't gay, right? Yet we have external events in our life. We have these complaints and excuses, negative thoughts and emotions, expectations, definitions that I am and I'm not. It's so through years of research, I've recognized that the people that are creating movements, that are creating tribes that follow them and keep buying their stuff, it's because we actually have the same subconscious material. And it's like, oh, they also feel unsafe. They haven't been able to make money. They've had these problems in their life. I trust them to be my leader across the void. I trust that they've gone through and they have similar thoughts and emotions. And so what we do is we deconstruct this and we actually put it in your messaging. And this is where it's not just like sharing vulnerably. Okay. I don't believe in kind of just trauma dumping on people, but it's how do we strategically share our it factor, share our blocks from the past, that are going to be like, that our ideal client are going to be like, oh my gosh, I relate. I want to hear more from this person. And then guess what? It's not just all the negative. With ourselves and our clients, we deconstruct this process, and it's who are you after you've achieved all of your goals? Who are you after you're healed? After you've hit your goal, after you're healed, who are you? And we actually, what story is that leader or person going to have? What story is that belief going to have? What rules is that person going to have when they are making $1 million in reoccurring revenue? What rules and what roles, what identity are they going to believe? So, what we do is you actually become that person, you feel the energetic connection to it, and then you put that into all of your messaging. That's why you can know all of the hows in the world, yet if you're not putting this subconscious messaging of what I call the pain, but you also deserve to put the paradise, who are you after you've achieved that goal? And your ideal clients has the same pain that you've had in the past, and then they want what you have now. Okay. And you build that pain to paradise with the subconscious messaging. And this becomes the foundation of your signature talk. This becomes the foundation of your funnels, your landing pages, your emails, all these different things. Okay. So who here understands now? So what are you hearing? So go ahead and type in what's different about this subconscious messaging in terms of marketing before. What are you hearing differently in terms of this subconscious marketing? When you really tap into this, what's going to be different in your landing pages? What if your landing pages could actually feel like they're talking to you, like your client's reading it and they feel like you're talking directly to them? This is how to do it. Okay. All right. So beautiful. All right, so now we're going to go into marketing. Okay, so let's talk about marketing. There is 3 sales funnels. Okay, so you have your webinar, you have your speaking, and then you have your lead magnet. Okay, so these are 3 funnels that work really well. Okay, so it's whether it's a stage topper webinar, whether it's speaking, or whether it's creating a lead magnet that is going to transform and call in your ideal business. There is actually a way that we can incorporate our subconscious messaging with these funnels in order to transform our business. Okay, so what if you have your landing page? Okay, you have your landing page. Then you have your emails. Okay, so the landing page of the emails then goes to your webinar or speaking event. Okay, then you have your nurturing sequence. You have your upsell. Okay, you have your upsell sequence. Now you have your product or service. And then now you have another upsell. Okay, what I want to teach you to do is you have this landing page, you have these emails, you have this webinar, you have this nurturing sequence, you have this upsell sequence. Then a lot of times people stop at this product. This is just a $5,000 product, a $10,000 product. And what I want to teach you to do is to have a sales funnel that it goes from your lead magnet to your medium program, to your low cost program, to your medium, to your high cost program. And you have the subconscious messaging through the entire sales funnel. And this is where it goes from your clients are kind of confused about how to kind of move up your ascension funnel. They're not sure where they fit in. With the subconscious messaging, you're pulling it through these different funnels in order to, they know what they're going to get from you. They know what to expect. They're excited. It overcomes their objections. And they don't decide to buy your product. They decide to become the person that actually doesn't have that problem anymore. Okay. So with marketing, with marketing, what is the stages of, now that we've have the subconscious messaging, what language do we use in our marketing in order to transform? Okay. So through understanding the brain and through science of how our neurology grows throughout life, people are actually at different neurological levels. And so we have to use not only our own subconscious messaging and their subconscious messaging, we have to use words, phrases, and language that appeals to different types of neurology levels in our marketing in the sales funnels. So this is why your sales funnels are either working or not working, or maybe a funnel has worked up until a certain point, but it's no longer working. This is why. Okay. So we have level one. Okay. So level one is our family identity. Okay. It's people that are their identity is their community. Their identity is their family. And so if we understand where the identity of their family is, we can start understanding, well, where is their conflict? Okay. And there's certain subconscious messaging and language when somebody is at this like family or community identity, there's language that we can put in there. Okay. Then number two, I call it the rebel identity. Okay. The rebel identity is those people are like, I can do it myself. I don't need you. I'm going to fight through. I've overcome. Okay. So you have your people that are like, I just want to be in community and I love everybody. So they might have an objection to buy because they're just like, I'm fine. I'm great. I don't have what I want, but so how do you get somebody to move forward that keeps just saying they're fine, right? What language is going to help with that? Then you have the rebel identity of that overcomer, that fighter, that's like, I can do it myself. So in your marketing funnels, what's that subconscious messaging that needs to break through that person that's like, I can do it myself. I got this. Okay. Or I've heard a lot through, I teach sales, obviously one-on-one, and the messaging that's going to sell on stages and things. A lot of people have an ego around, they're just like, I have my thing, it works for me, everybody should have it. And even though you think you can help them, they can't release their ego enough to actually see it. Okay, so there's specific subconscious messaging and language to shift that identity. Okay, then we have number three, and this is by the book. Okay, so you have people that are like, I need system, processes, structures. I need step by step. And it's like, what's the book? They listen to the book. Okay, so the book could also be a Bible. It could be corporation. It could be government. It could be like, I follow the rules. Okay, so if they have a rule follower identity, um, how do you break through and sell your products and services, have language to appeal to their rule follower identity? Okay, so I could put the rule follower identity. Okay, so number four is you have the um, entrepreneur. Okay, identity. So with the entrepreneur identity, this is where we all want to be, and aspects of us all are, is that break it, make it better. It's that calculated risk. Let me look at the science, the studies, the research. Let me look at the testimonials. What have they created in the past? And how do you, somebody that is that risk taker, but they're calculated risk, they want proof, research, all of that stuff. This is a higher kind of level of thinking in a sense, yet they also want proof. So how do you incorporate language that is going to appeal to that? And then number 5. So you have your spiritual identity. And this is where they're just like, I want I want the world to be a better place. I don't want to do anything that is not going to impact the world. And if I can't be in debt, I can't do this because I just want to help people. Okay. And so when somebody is like, I need to pray about this, or I need to go meditate on this, and they are that spiritual identity, but you're trying to get them to kind of release something, how do you speak to that spiritual mind that is going to attract them? And this is where it's like people like to spiritual bypass. So the personal development industry, it's like say affirmations, do this thing, and your mindset will shift, right? And then they use the same personal development skills to justify not looking at their stuff. Okay, so spiritual bypassing. So these are the different types of language. Once we have your subconscious messaging for yourself, okay, the pain and the paradise, we are actually going to go in and look at what's the language that you're going to put in your funnels. Okay. Yet, remember, you are the bottleneck to your own business. So guess what? You have conflict at each of these levels. And we can look at your own subconscious blocks, the conflict with your family, the conflict with your own individual self, the conflict of your own rules, the entrepreneurship identity and spiritual identity. Where are you holding yourself back from actually being creative and scaling your business? And once you release the subconscious blocks here, you are the lid to your clients. You are the lid to your ideal clients. What I mean by that is if you have a conflict in one of these that's subconscious, you can't speak to that in your landing pages. Yet, if you clean up the conflict in these areas, in your own identity, your own roles, you then can see it in your clients and we can start putting language to it. And I call it coaching to the sale, where your landing page doesn't become just a flyer for your product. It actually coaches your clients to the sale. So again, they become that person that doesn't want to have that problem anymore. And then they're willing to use your product and service as that vehicle. Okay. So this in itself is transformational. Okay, so what's one takeaway so far? Okay, so we've gone over subconscious messaging, we've gone over the marketing funnel and the languages in the funnel. What's one takeaway that you've heard differently so far? This is you stepping into your own leadership. And it's again, it's not about the how-tos. It's not about spending more money to have a fancier system. It's about how do I step into my own leadership and shift my messaging so that you can be that leader and attract people. Yep, step into my own leadership shifts. All right, so now you came here for the overlooked to overbooked. You want to be booked more. So there's actually a science behind what does a 5-figure business, when they incorporate the subconscious messaging, when they incorporate this, when they incorporate this, this marketing tools, why are some people at 5 figures? How do you break that 6 figures? But what are the multiple 6 and 7-figure people doing? Okay. And so this is that it factor process of the subconscious messaging, understanding how to put it into your marketing. And then it's about monetizing it with your energetic leadership. Okay. And these, I call this like the secrets to 7-figure messaging. How can you step into that identity? And I, again, love science. I love thinking about our characters, our qualities and characteristics is energy. You know those people that stand up on stage and they light up the room, okay? You've also had people walk into a room and it's like they suck the energy out. So on some level, we have an energy before we even step out on stage. You have an energy before you even write your social media posts or emails. So first, we want to understand what's the energy, what is the it factor that we are bringing even before we start showing up. And then it's an art and science of weaving specific things together in your messaging to get somebody to buy and to be able to scale to have a movement. Okay, so who here would like to be a movement maker where you don't just sell a product, but you actually create a movement? And that is what I want to teach you. Okay, so 7-figure messaging. Okay, 7-figure messaging. So interestingly enough, I used to be a teacher. Okay, so I taught conflict resolution, and I would get down to two people they complained about each other. Okay, then because of those complaints, they had the negative thoughts and emotions. And they fought at the complaints and excuses about each other. They fought over how the other person made them feel a certain thing. But then how I actually got people to agree in 7 years of doing mediation. So I did parent-teen disputes. I did small business disputes. I did temporary restraining order disputes. Okay. And how did we get them to agree? And it's getting down to the need not met. And so many people, they don't buy because they don't trust that you can meet a certain need, but it's unconscious. And so I realized that, okay, in my mediation, once we got down to this need not met, then we were able to write an agreement and overcome the problem. Then through my 3,500 hours of coaching people around their trauma and their subconscious blocks, I recognized that they had a subconscious need not met, and that need suppressed a part of their identity. And then they were building a business or doing something on a false identity. That's where people feel fake, fraud, imposter syndrome, right? But they don't know why. So it's a need not met. And now I've recognized that people don't buy because they don't believe that your product and service can meet a certain need. Oftentimes that need is subconscious. So unless we speak to that need, they won't actually shift their identity in order to become the person that wants to solve the problem that you solve. Okay. So at the It Factor, we're actually going to create a talk that actually has the 7-figure messaging, that incorporates the subconscious messaging, that incorporates the monetizing and the sales funnel and that language, and incorporates getting down to that need, that subconscious need not met. Okay. So first, we all know that we need to have teaching points. Okay. Now, there's a difference between giving value. Who here in marketing is like, give value, give value, give value. Okay. So we've just given so much value now in the marketing that almost everything doesn't even feel like it's worth the $10, $15, $25,000 and more. It's like they can go find it on Google or somebody's giving it away. Okay. So we want to shift away from giving value in a certain sense, and we want people to have direct takeaways. How do you have teaching points in your messaging that is direct takeaways that people are like, wow, I've shifted my mindset. I can see how I can shift my identity. And it's not necessarily giving a value, but it's a takeaway that they can resonate with. Now, with our teaching points, again, when we're focused on value, we make a biggest mistake. I did 9 webinars my first year in business. I had 100 people on each webinar and I didn't sell a thing. Okay, 9 webinars, 100 people on each webinar, and didn't sell a damn thing. People loved it, and people are like, oh my gosh, this has solved my trauma from 10 years old. My trauma's gone from this webinar, and I'm so happy. I gave them too much. I gave my process away. So what we're going to talk about is you give the why, you give the what, the how people have to pay for. So how do we tell people why it's important, what your process is to get them transformation? And they have direct takeaways in the why and the what, but then you hold back the how to where they pay you. Now, this is where your shift in sales has to come. People are like, that's salesy. That doesn't feel good. Okay. And this is where we want to actually take content out of what you're doing and put more of that energetic leadership, that subconscious blocks where they understand why it's important, what it is, and you're getting paid for your genius. You're getting paid for your it factor. Okay. So that is how you also scale your business, is because if you're solving your people's problem already, then why should they pay you? So we want to create that tension so that they want more from you. Okay. So number 2 is stories. Got to have really good stories. Okay. And what stories do we need to tell to call out our ideal clients so that our ideal clients know that we're the leader across that void? Okay. Okay. So we want to have a series of personal stories, again, that show our subconscious messaging. We want to have a series of testimonials that show the subconscious messaging. We've helped people with this. It's got them from this pain to this paradise. This is my personal story. It's gotten from this pain to this paradise. And here, what are metaphors that people can hear and understand in order to know that your product and service is going to actually work for them? Okay. So we're going to look at stories that move people to make a decision and actually release their subconscious blocks or shift their identity to become that person that wants to solve the problem that you have, that you solve. Okay. Number 3 is objections. So how do we handle and overcome objections to them buying? Okay, so there is an art using neurolinguistic programming, Milton model, sleight of mouth. Okay, there is an art to overcoming objections. Not enough time, not enough money. My partner won't let me. I'm in too many programs right now. There is an art to overcoming objections throughout your messaging where people don't even actually know what you're doing. And it's clearing up their own conflict so they can make an empowered decision. Okay, so I call it like coaching to the sale. Again, whether it's one-on-one, you're actually coaching, or it's through your messaging. So we have like guilting to the sale, which is using negative. You're basically leveraging their negative thoughts and emotions to say, you need this. You won't move forward unless you have this. I'm the only one that can solve. That's the guilting to the sale. Then you have compassionate sales that is like, I just love this. It's worked so much. It's amazing. And I'll be here when you need it, if you need me. And you don't get them to make a decision. Then there's overcoming objections where you're coaching to the sale, where it's an empowered yes or an empowered no. And they don't feel that conflict inside. They're conflict clear so they can make a decision. Now, guess what? With this process of coaching to the sale and using objections, this is where my biggest no's have become my biggest affiliates. People feel so good about the way that the sale happens that they become my biggest affiliates. And it's so funny because I've watched, at the beginning of my business, I watched 5 people that said no to me, but they invited all of their friends to my stuff, and I transformed their friend's life. And after they've seen their friends' businesses transform, they're like, maybe I do need this. Okay. And so your no's can be your biggest affiliates. And that is when you overcome objections in a coaching way, it feels really good and not salesy. Okay. And the last bit is seeding. How do you seed your product and service in a way that people feel clear about moving forward with you? Now, I want you to have messaging, to have a webinar, to have a talk that people understand what you're selling, okay, before you even get to the offer. And they are able to start making a decision, is this right for me? And they make the decision that it works for them before you get to the offer. Then when you get to the offer, they are only making a decision to pull out their credit card or not. So there's a way to seed your program that solves an internal problem, an external problem, and that shows that you have a process that works. Okay. So the last one is zingers. These are just fun. Zingers are sayings that stick with your audience. They're kind of like those gut punches that are like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And you want to come up with phrases like make your message a movement, or hashtag movement maker, or different things that that people can remember. And so one of the things that I love doing is helping people come up with their own zingers so that they can connect to their ideal audience. Now, what's the secret here? It's like, okay, I know the teaching piece. Okay, I know I need to tell stories, right? That's how you made your first six figures. That's how you've had a successful business so far. Okay, I mean, I understand the objection overcoming. Like, I need to tell people that I'll get time back or they'll make more money with my thing. Okay, got it. Okay, I need to tell people about my product or service. Now, a lot of like 5-figure people or 6-figure that have just broke the 6-figure, they do all of these separately. It's very like, okay, I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. And it's very like robotic. Okay. And you can tell whether a landing page or a talk where they're just kind of going through the motions with this. I want to teach you how do multiple 6 and 7-figure people do this. It's where they understand the science of each of these. And it's also an art where how do you tell a story that teaches the point, overcomes the objection, and seeds your product in one story? Okay. How do you teach a point? How does your teaching point overcome the objection and show your process while you teach one point or tell one story? So the art of the it factor is actually incorporating all of these so that instead of like in a 90-minute talk, you're getting all of your points that are important down, distilled down into like a 5 to 10-minute story or teaching point that incorporates all of these. Okay. So this is that it factor process of getting to the subconscious messaging, then understanding how to take that subconscious messaging and put it in your sales funnels, and then the language that is going to land with people's identity so that we can shift their identity. And the last piece is really helping people understand that need, that unconscious need that's not met, that's keeping them from creating the life that they want. And so through these 5 different things, you're learning how to show that you can meet that subconscious need so that they shift and become the person that wants to solve the problem that you solve through your products and services. Okay. So that is the it factor method. Okay. Subconscious messaging, incorporating the marketing, and then incorporating it into your 7-figure messaging. And I want you to think about what is your why? Why do you do what you do? What motivates you to keep going and to show up every single day? Okay. And there was a moment where I learned about my own it factor. I learned about my voice and my leadership. And I actually, through college, I got an opportunity to tutor and do coaching. And we called it educational therapy. So it was like tutoring with emotional development coaching. And this kid was in 9th grade. I mentored him for 4 years in high school. He was straight F's. He was kind of gothic. He wore clothes that didn't represent him. He was on drugs and he didn't like his parents. And through like 3 to 4 days a week for 4 years, he began to transform. And I also transformed with him because I recognized the power of my heart, my soul, my it factor. And by the time that he was in his senior year, he was on honor roll. He was dressing like he normally did. He was off drugs and he was more connected to his parents. And I remember understanding, wow, we can be a leader and step up. And so I went off to my master's. He went off to college, and he actually got in a car accident. And they put him on opioids. He got addicted to drugs. And so he went through therapy. I didn't kind of take responsibility for him, but I was his friend in that moment. And within a year, he was off drugs and back to doing really well. Then, about a year after that, he got in a motorcycle accident, got him back on opioids. He got addicted. And this was the same time where my mom had cancer, my dad had open heart surgery, I was outed. And he had called me and I didn't pick up. And because I was going through my own stuff. And about a week later, I found out that he'd actually overdosed and died. And I I don't take it like I don't take responsibility for him. And what it meant for me, like, was what if I would have just picked up? What if I was clear and I was being the leader that I was meant to be? And it was so interesting because he went from like hating gays and he used to talk about gay this, gay that, to I remember before one of the times they were talking, he's like, I love you so much. He's like, I can't imagine like why was I such a douche to gay people? Like, you're so cool. I just didn't know. And I didn't try to fight him and make change his mind in that way. I just was myself. And so that is why I teach the it factor, is because I want you, whatever your purpose and your why is, I want you to show up in alignment, magnetic, captivating, so that you can call in that impact and transformation and lead the people that you want. And now I medicate, I connect, and I have such fond memories, and I keep him with me in my heart. And that's what I want you to do, is to keep your why in your heart and spread it through so that you can scale your business and have the dreams you want, multiple 6 and 7 figures. Okay. So I've given you a lot. I've given you the it factor method. I've talked about the subconscious messaging. We've talked about the marketing that you can do in the subconscious messaging. And then we've talked about how you can then create your signature talk or your signature messaging that then shifts somebody's identity. So what I'd like to do is, if you have loved this, I know this was like 100,000-foot view, I'd like to invite you into the it factor where we actually get to do this together. Okay. So it'd be okay if I show you the bite-sized pieces that if you would like me to actually do this with you, how you can do that. Okay. So I'd love to share about what the it factor is, and then if you want to implement this in your business, what is the next steps to do that? Okay. So I'm going to pull up the slideshow so that you can see, and then I'm going to be able to I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So there we go. All right. So this is the it factor. Okay. So what if this is the year your messaging becomes a movement? How can we put this it factor message in so that it becomes a movement? We are going to dive into, okay, so turning your expertise into a scalable, authentic messaging beyond 6 figures. Okay. This includes the subconscious messaging, the 3 marketing funnels that you put your subconscious messaging in, and then how do you monetize with your energetic leadership and incorporating this 7-figure messaging. Okay. So what are these 3 pieces? I just want to kind of explain exactly what you're going to get in this it factor. It's a 3-day event that is going to transform your marketing. Okay. So the subconscious messaging, on day 1, we're going to uncover and step into your magnetic presence and messaging. So what is that pain to paradise? What's that subconscious messaging of the pain? But then what is that subconscious messaging in your identity shift that you are going to uncover and step into your magnetic presence and messaging through that pain to paradise subconscious part? Then learn how to incorporate the subconscious messaging into your marketing. So on day 1, we're going to write a 2-minute networking talk where instead of the I help X, Y, and Z do X, Y, and Z, and it's that elevator pitch that it's boring, it's unengaging, and it's the old style of marketing. What is a 2-minute pain to paradise where you are calling out your ideal clients with the subconscious messaging? And how can you say it in 15 seconds? How can you say it in 2 minutes to captivate your audience? This pain to paradise process, I did a 2-minute talk, and I sold a $2,500 program just from somebody coming up afterwards and talking to me because of my talk. I did a 10-minute talk where I used the subconscious messaging, and I sold my first $15,000 program, again, because I created so much interest that people came up and wanted to hear more. This is that subconscious messaging that I want you to call out your ideal clients and have them attract to you. We're going to define your subconscious blocks, and then you're going to learn to attract your ideal clients with incorporating your own subconscious blocks into your messaging that relates to your ideal client subconscious blocks. Okay. All right, so the second piece is about marketing, okay? So you get to shift your identity, but then you put it into your marketing pieces. So learn how to incorporate your charisma, confidence, influence into all of your marketing. Learn to scale with incorporating your subconscious messaging into the 3 funnels, and then release your subconscious blocks and turn your presence into profit. So yes, we are going to do a somatic release so that you can actually release the subconscious blocks in order to step into your next level of leadership, whatever that is for you. Okay. Then the third piece is the monetizing. So learn the 5 secrets to 7-figure messaging and actually create your 5 to 10-minute talk incorporating all of these pieces. Incorporate your energetic leadership. So what is that it factor that before you even step on the stage, you're showing people your energy, and then you're going to turn your subconscious messaging into a foundation of your signature talk and marketing content. So leave with your foundation of your it factor so that you can go create talks, webinars, funnels, all of the things. You're going to have a foundation of all of your messaging in order to monetize and scale your business. Okay. So, what are the bonuses? Okay, so you're going to get your Make Your Message a Movement guide. So this is step by step how to implement your in factor into your business. Okay, so it is 3 days, and you don't even have to come to the 3 days because we have it in a workbook for you. Of course, you're going to want to and get the coaching and get all of that stuff, but we have a Make Your Message a Movement guide that's step by step how to incorporate all of this stuff in your business. Okay, then we have an Activate Your It Factor breath work. So you're going to have a subconscious and somatic release, and then you're going to have networking, live coaching, and practice in order to implement everything that you've learned. Okay, so the total value is $997. Okay, and today the total investment is $97. Okay, so that is it. It's $97 for 3 days. It is going to be May 8th through 10th. Okay, so it's going to be half day on the first day, so it's going to be like 12 to 6 mountain time, and then it's going to be about 11 to 7 on May 9th and May 10th, and we are going to create your it factor and put it into your marketing. Okay, so this is again how you step into and scale your business, the next level of that. Now, some of you are like, I'm ready to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put in the link for the it factor so that you can sign up for it. And then we actually have something super special for you. Okay. We have something super special. So let me put that link in. So you can go ahead and sign up for the it factor. And for those of you that are like, I want to take my marketing to the next level, and I am ready to step in now, we actually have a VIP. Okay. So we have the VIP. So the VIP is one-on-one coaching to scale training. So we have one-on-one coaching to scale the training or incorporate into your funnel. Okay, so you're actually going to get a coach and learn how to, you're going to get a coach, yes, in the it factor in order to coach to your own subconscious blocks. And for the VIP, we're going to do a 3-hour training. It's a recording of how to do one-on-one sales and pull out people's subconscious blocks. Okay, so it's a sales training on how to do this one-on-one. And then in the sales training, we teach you actually how to do one-on-one calls in your funnels. So with your webinar funnels, how do you do welcome calls? How do you do strategy sessions after? How do you increase people showing up to your different things, all of that? So it's a one-on-one sales training. Then for the VIP, we have a 30-day Powerfully You breathwork bonus. Okay, so if you want to get your energy back, if you want to shift your motivation, if you want to feel free, or if you want to step into your leadership, breathwork is the best way to cut through some of the unconscious stuff. So we have a 30-day Powerfully You breathwork challenge. Okay, then we have a training, it's called Conversion Code, how to handle any objections one-on-one and group sales. So I'm going to dive in just to the objection piece in a training so that you can incorporate objections into all of your sales. We have a podcast guesting advanced training, okay? So Michael sells this for $500. So this is worth the value in just this. It's how do you, one, are you an epic guest on somebody else's podcast so that you can be booked on more podcasts, you can get out in front of more people, and it's the exact way to use podcast guesting in order to grow and scale your business, okay? So many people just kind of send out generic things to podcasts, but how do you pick the right podcast for you and then be able to be a guest to where that podcast transforms into money? Okay, so you're going to get a training for that. And then we have additional small group messaging and coaching. So for those of you that do hop in at the VIP, you're going to get time in small groups with myself and Michael to understand how to scale your business using this IT Factor method. And it's going to be a much more smaller group. Okay. So that is the IT Factor, okay? We would love to have you. And some people are like, oh, I don't know if I can do it on May 8th, 9th, and 10th. So what we want to do is we want to support you and all of these bonuses alone, and you're still going to get the breath work. You're still going to get the guide. So if you can't make it to May 8th, 9th, or 10th, one, we'll work with you to figure out what pieces you can make and how to leverage this, okay? Some people are like, I've done these 3-day events before. Am I really going to get something out of it? So this is only me and Michael. So some, you know how some 3-day events, they have a whole bunch of speakers and they're all selling stuff. This is only Michael and myself. And this is a workshop type event where the first day you're doing your 2-minute networking talk. The second day, we're diving into the subconscious and releasing it and learning how to put that messaging. And then the last day is about that marketing funnel and putting it into your marketing funnel. And you're going to have that 5 to 10 minute foundation of your messaging. Okay. So you're going to leave with your marketing and your messaging ready to go. In this. Sound good? So it's not just like a whole bunch of speaking events. And then the last piece is people are like, I've tried things like this. It's like, can messaging really shift my business? And this isn't about just shifting your messaging. It's about shifting your identity and your leadership. And that's what we want to do. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So what I'd love is you can click on the link, and then does anybody have any questions? Or Michael, do you want to share anything?
My buttons are slow to click. It was taking a bit to unmute myself. I clicked it and it was really slow, and then also bringing me back on camera. Absolutely. So I just want to reiterate what you closed off with there, Carson, in that this is a workshop. And the other piece is, I mean, it's a roll your sleeves up and get shit done workshop. But the other piece that you also said, which I think is key, and I know this firsthand because Krista, who is going to be emceeing the event with us and will be there, and it's a conversation we have practically daily for the last year. It's like we haven't dialed in the messaging yet. And messaging is key, but I think what's the underlying part of that is, like you just said, Carson, is we really have to get into that own self-identity of it to really make it all work. And so it's been a journey for us, and we're still on that journey. And so it's exciting for me to be a part of it, to play with you, because this is really your wheelhouse more. I'll be adding the other elements that I do. But that's what makes it also really cool, is you're getting two experts with very different zones of genius that are going to help you tremendously in getting your it factor going. So I hope everybody will jump in and join us. I'm excited to be there. I think it's just going to be a killer event. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this stuff. I'm obsessed with this stuff. And so I do think that when more people are implementing this and they get out of the how-tos and they start being more of that leader, that's what's actually going to make the difference in the business. So thank you for letting me connect with you and doing this together. It's going to be epic.
Absolutely. And I want to throw in one last piece before we wrap up for everybody, because here's the other thing. We've been together, what is the time now? So just about 83 minutes, a little under that even. But in this, I've been taking copious notes because between now and our It Factor event, I'm going to be speaking on a stage out in Reno with Chris and I at an event called the Big Table Event with Laurel Langmeyer. And I'm already just from that, I took 2 pages of notes just during this little bit of like, okay, well, we got to incorporate this into our talk. We got to look at this and reframe that messaging bit there and that. And that's just the value from this little snippet. Imagine the value you're going to get 3 days digging deep, rolling up the sleeves and working closely with this. So I'm excited. Don't delay. Grab the link. If you're watching this as a replay, we'll put the link either in the email you got, or if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put it in the section below, but grab your ticket fast, get in while you can. It's going to be stellar.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. You got it. Thank you, Carson. I really appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Ciao.